Okay, I'm back. Hello, I'm Verde Arbusto. This is the Schumann Resonance Harmonics channel on Facebook and YouTube. Uh, thank you. Although I guess it's more YouTube these days. I don't know, whatever. Uh, the only reason I'm on Facebook, to tell you the truth, is for the two groups I admin over there. One is a public group, one is a private group experience. And the private group is the one that I set up from the beginning to be private, so I could be more selective and the advanced level. And the public one was a different experience. I worked my way up the ranks in that one, and I earned the badge of admin, which I'm very proud of. Just winning. That's a win. And I've been the active admin over there, and I've learned a, a lot about stuff, but especially how to be kind in my comments and be patient with people. And it's just been a learning experience as the expert. And so I'm grateful for that experience of you know being the expert and having to be considerate in what I say. All right, so this is like part two. I've already done the introduction. I get the music out of the way. Good mix. Uh, and I said, oh, I'll get into the material, but I've been working on it. All right, so I don't. I have this. I have explained a little bit about this. I have the script, and sometimes the script is already written, and I just read through it. And sometimes I'm kind of working on it as I'm going through. And this is what I have at this point. I'm kind of working through it. Right? So, uh, and there's different versions of these things that I work on. That's why I post them in different places. Actually, I have it's I don't know. But I think I suspect it would be fun for you to hunt down all the different versions I have of these things that I post in different places. I of course have one for Patreon that I do that's a little bit different from all the rest. I try to make it different. Some are public. I just want to say that, you can go to Patreon and you can see some of the posts that I made that are not, subscriber only, and you can subscribe for like minimum $1, I think. There's not a, I didn't set a minimum, so I hope should be $1, but anyway. And so then I have a WordPress. I have, I don't do Twitter or any of those. I don't do any TikTok. There's a bunch of, social media that I don't do, social networking. I am not the social and social networking, all right? I tend to be a very privative person, and I have a hard time talking, using the language in English and all of that. And I explained that a little bit in the text here, Um, and so this, that once again, this is video. Like all of this, any that I do from this point forward, I humbly submit to you, are through the pushing, of my guides, the you know the the motivation, the magnetic pull, the gravity of getting me motivated and my will behind working something like this. That my guides tell me that we are now, we're in the Aquarian Age. We've been in the Aquarian Age, but uh, you know, for any of you who follow, Queen V, Empress V, I'll call her that. She worked. She deserved, comes up. She's a master builder, Empress. Where she talked about that. A recent video where she was talking about that. The stellium. The it was like Jupiter, the big planets, right? And Pluto was kind of somewhere out in there as well. Um, and that marked the official start opening of the Aquarian Age. And like, okay, that's a marking point. Yes, right. I've said that we started the Aquarian Age back in, the 1660s, and some things even earlier than that, right? Were established, got a root hold in it. The printing press, for example, a bunch of stuff. Everyman, the play Everyman. I've talked about this. And I will be, as well, doing a video after this one here. The next one will be talking about the Kalayuga and all of that. And I'm going to be making a video a lot more about that and explaining what the ages are in the procession and all of that, and explain a lot more about what technically the age of Aquarius actually is. And it's going to be a really fun video. All right. So, but in the meantime, this one here, that dedicated my spirits to pushing me, my spirit guides, pushing me into doing this one here, where I'm talking about ascension from my own personal, perspective. And I don't use the word ascension. I use growth. Like, to me, that's a misnomer, because uh, you know, there has to be an awakening before there's an ascension, and it's a conscious thing. And so it's not in the sense that a lot of people are believing it's automatic, somehow magically automatic. Like, this is different. This is by will and by choice, okay? And it's important to understand that, no one's going against their will, right? There is definitely a growth that's happening here, and definitely a shift and a transition. And I aim to talk about what the technical aspects of the Aquarian Age are, in addition to, right? I'm talking about Araman, the incarnation of Araman, which is the god of technology, right? So there's a lot to this that's here that I want to uh, discuss and bring up, that my guides are telling me it's time to, talk about this. Um, it's officially, like the stellum alignment was in like 2020, I'm pretty sure. Uh, I don't think it was 2021, you know. Like, no, it was like a year, easily a year ago. And that, kind of started the ball. But I have to, like, point out that there are still some Piscean players on the field, and there are institutions that have yet to disassemble. All right. And so, as I talk about the Kali Yuga, the ending of the Kali Yuga officially in 2026, there's a timetable that's involved, but before that, everyone, by your own free will, has to work for it. Just because, there's a deadline heading up, deadline coming up, or I speak in terms of a year that they figured out, and I go into that how and why, because I'm not the one who worked out the mathematics, but I'm just agreeing with it, right? I will second that. And so it's important that you understand how I'm coming up with the number, the 2026 year of the ending of the Kali Yuga, because there's other things that are happening before that. And oh, good God, we have to live in the moment, and that's part of what the artwork over here is directing a person, I guess, directing a what's the word? I'm not sure what I'm looking for. Uh, Directing a heart. Um, I'm not sure where I was going, but kind of directing us to live in the moment, right? And that's kind of what the heart center is you're operating in the moment, right? So, I guess I will be compiling that and making that as content when I'm done with this, or sometime after when I'm done with this. It's on there's a browser that's all set up for that topic, and I think I'm going to have to do a bunch of shorts because there's a lot of material to cover. But it's like, it's time, like, this is the as I explain this, it is the march to the starting line to get ready to board the ship, maybe, or the starting line. I don't want to call it a race. Um, it's not really a race. It's not a competition like that. You know, it's a voyage. It's a journey. It's a new land. Uh, or maybe it's better to think of it that we're on a ship and we're going to a new land and we're about ready to disembark into the new land, into the new space, right? And it's part, and you know, a paradigm is a good word. Uh, there's a lot to this. I'm trying to give a general introduction, and some of what I'm saying here is covered in the material, but I want to make it sort of relevant for, you know, I got to kind of remind myself what I'm doing here, why we're here, what, you know, what is this? What am I doing here? Right? This is the purpose, you know, like, yeah, I'm a super freaking brilliant genius. Yes, I am. And then what? So what? Right? I'm I know a lot of stuff. I'm wise because I have a lot of experience, and it's not enough to be intelligent, you know, without being able to share it or, you know, talk about it with people. Um, and it's been a work to be able to find the words to share what's going on. Uh, there's a lot of craziness, I guess, insanity, chaos, confusion going on, which is understandable considering that there's a changing of the guards and there's a changing of the players and the field is changing, right? And so not everyone is ready to understand and see what's really truly happening. And this video isn't for everyone. It's not for them, right? There are the advanced workers among you who may not be into the ascension, whole ascension thing, but you, if you know me, you know kind of where my head is at with this, and I'm addressing a lot of this stuff on both sides, the myth and the what really truly is happening from my understanding and my knowledge of uh, the form. All right, I incarnated at this time to do this with people to help, and it's not a good thing. It's not a benefit thing. It's not a good thing for me to, hibernate because I have trouble speaking the language. And, like I know scientific stuff, I know technical stuff, right? Like I can do that, all right? However, the conversational level of the everyday conversations that people have, there's a art to communicating with people, or it's hard to say, but there's a space that comes with being a person where you need to talk to the other person to know what's going on. Now, if you're able to tune in to a person and read their mind, and right, that's different. You may not need to talk. You just know, but then eventually you do need to talk, right? Um, so this is one of the conundrums that I face, that although I love you all like the family, right? I recognize I'm part of the family, this family. You're not just strangers on the internet. I mean, you care, right? You're people that care. And you come to the videos and you leave comments, right? Like, uh, and those of you who've watched the video and haven't commented, it's like it's fine. You haven't, you miss talking to me, you miss chatting with me, and you're letting me know that, um, that's part of the experience here. That language portal that needs to be activated in order for there to be an awakening. right? For people, for humans, right? And so this is part of the experience that needs to be understood. A lot of people inherently, intuitively understand this, and this is something I'm learning is talking, right? The aspect, right? Um, I've shared this. My mom, all the time growing up, children should be seen and not heard. My father always said, "You talk too much." We never conversed about anything but work. My sister has only terrible things to say about what I've said, and I've not always made the right judgments with things I've said on a personal level to people, right? Um, so as a means of, right, this is part of what this is, right? As a means of being, offering love, being loving to the those of you who are advanced. uh, I am, I'm offering this, right? This is coming from my guides, and prime source. I uh, I am told, my guides remind me that I am one of the very few humans alive that not only does not in any way question a source, but I talk to the creator. There's an avatar. I am an avatar in its body. Okay? And as you are a recognize you're a spirit, you're a spiritual being, and that there's other parts of you, there's other theaters where stuff happen. Like dreams are a good place where you connect with that stuff. Your subconscious, where other yous, other timelines are happening. And so not only do I not question in any way, I have a picture in my head of the avatar of Source, which is a light. It's just a orb or a glowing ball. There aren't more details than that because there isn't anything more that needs to be uh, seen that than that, right? It's just that, and behind that is Source, which isn't you're able to be seen as a or understood as a human, right? Um, so I'm one of the few that has this image from in my head. It's always there. It's just there's a place there that my mind is always at with Source. So check on Source and the angels and then my spirit guides, and it's a camp. And I've done the video. I've done the there's a meditation video that I've done where I talk about this. The camp of the eternal flame, the amethyst flame, in the eternal forest. Right? It's a visualization guided meditation I've done, but that's where I go to, like in the other higher dimensions. It's where I go directly to get my answers. Right? I'm sitting at the campground with the old guy, the old ball of light there. Right? It's the tender of the eternal flame. It's the avatar of Prime Source Creator. And so I'm one of the few, right? The rest of everyone, they channel them through some angels or higher guides or astrals, whatever. Does it, it's part of the drama, part of the calling out to the Palladians and the Andromedan energy and whatever. It's all good. It's all part of the theater, the Sturm und Drang, the the drama, the theater. As I call this, all the world's a stage, we are merely players, right? Yes. As we are in the avatar, the body, right? I'm an actor, I'm a performer. It's a thing. It's just the stage, the world is, a legitimate stage in the free will zone of the Earth School. It's this is part of the school is learning how to handle the stage, and and I literally have this kind of example here of the stage of the studio where like a lot of the YouTube content providers, the content makers, the channel, they're everyday people. John Q. Everyman has his thing and is fascinating. Some of the everyday people are fascinating in what they do, and I'm trying to work on being the average everyday man who's just the wizard about the Schumann resonances and atmospheric electromagnetics, you know. Um, uh, but you know, I lost track. Actually, this is a good point to pause. Have a drink of coffee. Have a cigarette. Come back in a few minutes, and I'll still be chattering on about nothing. All right, so this is a thank you from my guides, my spirit guides, working through me to, help you guys, right? Uh, it's what I'm here for, right? This is from the, if you're not into Ascension, that's fine. You'll appreciate this all the more, right? So, I use the word Ascension when I talk about releasing the sandbags, like a hot air balloon. Uh, and what's keeping me from flying? What's keeping me from being the butterfly that I have that vision of? Um, and, we all have work to do here, okay? And so that's kind of what it takes to get to the butterfly stage of what do I still have left to share with you guys, right? And so this one, I got to make sure to have a chat with you, so at least someone will comment on it. Uh, point made. And I want to. I've been opening up more with my other language, so you understand, and so, uh, it's you may know, there's one person among you who understands. That's Pam, right? She said, no, that was what I had said at my invocation ritual or whatever it was, something. She had actually said that she spoke in the same language, uh, and it's a thing of vulnerability for me, right, to open up with my original language. People call this light language, and it's not. I'm not channeling anything. I don't know. That's different than this. I think may or may not be, but I think it is. I don't call it that. I call it my original language, my mother tongue, my original tongue. Uh, what I spoke before I got here, and it wasn't. Like this is a place of thinking that comes other than talking from the head. Right? It just is not a better way to put that. It's what I might call a prayer, and the church called it a prayer language. Except that was a little different. No, it's all good though. Uh, Terence McKenna calls it glossolalia. He calls it a proto language. He has a lot of interesting theories on what the original language was, right? What was the original tongue of humans? And that's something that I've written about the Tower of Babel. And it's something that's more. I have more material in the series of the Ascension series, I guess. Maybe I'll call it. It'll be much more fascinating than other people's Ascension series, trust me. Because I have to do this part of it. The door is open. The precedent has been set. The bar has been, you know, raised, I think, as it were, or lowered, or whatever it is, that it's been opened for now. The door has been opened for what this truly means, because what you're calling ascension may just be because we're moving into the Aquarian Age, and the polarities are shifting. Right? So, things are shifting and changing, and it's like it's part of the job here for me, the science and tech guy, to explain it to people in as common a language as I can, right? And this is the fucking graduate level course, for God's sakes, right? I mean, yeah, this isn't the freshman. I work, I try to keep it at the high school level vocabulary, but oh, good God, it's just shit's coming from God. I mean, what the hell, I channel them, right? Oh man, my guides, right? And I open up to them. Tell me, share me. with me to give me what I'm supposed to say to the people. And I always have that because it's like I don't know otherwise. Honestly, there's too much that I could say. And so that's why I have to open up to them, in when I'm saying this and when I'm talking, right? And so along those lines, okay, now I think it's a good point at almost, 30 minutes into it. I'm going to have a invocation, a benediction invocation at this point, right? Uh, and it's to my guides, right? In my language, my native language. And we're going to open up the discussion about the Aquarian Age, right? Moving into the Aquarian Age and what that means, and a lot more about this that needs to be said, because we're getting, they told me it's like getting to the starting line. Everyone at their places, but in the not quite the starting line, but on the the set. Right? It's a movie, as it will, but the theater, the drama, or if it were a race, everyone's getting their, it's a marathon, getting your places set and, kind of hunker down, or, the swim meet or whatever, like the people who've done the work and are ready to move on into the next step, like you're my people. That's who this is for. That's what this is for. You this is not for the people who are undecided or just trying to figure it out at this point, if what's what. um and so that's, it's really important to understand that this is where I'm at, and that's where you should be at as well. I can't be making this decision for you, whether where you're at in this. All right. So with that, Matsarya Mahashafua, Waptapacha Ara Ara, Wasapoa Wa, Umba Achashafa Baroda Omahasatara. Shafura Ua, Umpatretra Acha Ara Ua, Umfaro Ua, Pumpusutare Chikarara Ara Ua Shama Ufa Pawa Pawa Paata Shafara ara ua umpa ua pa atara atare umsha ara altra ukaram umpro machatsa atsara upa chumokoe oikapitatre fupu ua umptara achakarara atarara. Thank you. Thank you. Your graces, we ask your presence to be here while I give to the folks, the class, what is necessary for them and what they should have, right? Just let me be out of this and let me be a pure carrier of the message, right? I think that's the best way to put it. All right. So I think on that note, let's play a little music, maybe, and then we'll actually get into the reading. Right? How about that? Let's see what we got here. All right. Oh, please. Okay, I found something. I think we'll just, I think this will be a good chance to just kind of, put our heads together. I mean, I love the air mix. So I'll see you in a few minutes.
data center. I could give you a private show. We can make some videos. You and I could live forever. Back to being a data center. Yeah, I could give you a private show. We can make some videos. You and I
Okay,
could live forever.
pull it on back.
Back to being
Break it on through. Okay, pause you. All right, we're back. Hello, and thank you for being here. Okay, so I'm going to read through what I have, and not word for word. The script is generally what I follow. I go off script. And sometimes I expand on things, and like sometimes I'll put stuff in there right on the spot. This writer at work, um, and but the version that I have at the time of the video, I post on my website and Patreon. It all goes on Patreon. Thank you all for supporting me there, right? Um, and feel free to donate through PayPal as well. Thank you, because it all goes through there anyway. Thank you for supporting me. I appreciate that. And WordPress. The WordPress is a shareable link, right? So that kind of goes with the Schumann Resonance Harmonics Facebook group that's private. I can't share through that group. I can only share through, put the WordPress link, or that's how I started. Now I have the website, and I do all that. So the script, the writing that I follow is, it's there for you to read at your convenience, and I work to make sure the link is always there and always good. Right? All right. So this is, this is going to be a little, like I said, this is a little different thing for me. I'm not the Ascension guy. Like I don't do Ascension stuff, right? Because I'm the technical, scientific, the accepted engineering and standard technical explanation of Schumann resonances and atmospheric electromagnetics. All right, and so uh, and as well as like telluric currents and uh, what are they called, Birkeland currents and those kind of things, which are not Schumann resonances, and they're a different thing. And that's I try and explain how it all fits together to people, right? Um, such as I do on that. All right, but the Schumann resonances are the most important thing, right? The number one thing. And I try to do that all the Schumann resonances stuff for free, right? Just public, so everyone can see it, benefit from it, right? Such as I know, such as I have, right? Um, so it's important to know what they are and what they're not. Since we are now set in the Aquarian Age, we're officially in there, and I've talked about this, right? What makes us officially in the Aquarian Age? But again, we nail it down to the the stella. That's as good a time as anyway. The uh, Saturn, Jupiter, and I think it was Uranus, and something else was in there. There was a conjunction of like five uh, planets over the course of a couple days, rulers and the houses, and a couple of them were, I think, in their home houses. So it was like, yeah. And the new moon is, going full in Aquarius, right? So I have an Aquarius moon, 78% in Aquarius. Right? So um, it's like we're moving forward, moving ahead, right? And so this is part of what the job is, part of what my mission is to explain this to people. What it is. Now that we're in the Aquarian Age, I'm supposed to be opening, talking about this, right? that it's not necessarily ascension so much as it is moving into the Aquarian Age. Okay, it's, there's a difference, right? The ascension is, awaken ascension. There's a two-step process there, right? It's by the will, whereas moving into the Aquarian Age is happening automatically. That's just, no one's stopping that. No one's getting in the way of that. It is. That's what the Earth, everything, all in alignment is happening. So, out of and I've explained this of what the woke is. And I don't think I did a video on this. I think I just did the writing. I don't think I did the video on that. So the woke, what woke means, is just a cover, right? It's people can't help it. The army, for God's sakes, is going woke. You're the fucking military, for God's sakes. You don't go woke. You don't have an identity crisis. You blow stuff up. That's what you do. You shoot people that you don't like. That's your job. You don't have an identity crisis and have a touchy-feely side to you, and like, no, but it's happening, right? It's the end of the era, the end of the age. It's just more stuff that's breaking down, right? Wasn't doing too great to start with, and now it's breaking down. So that's important to understand that, right? So what all that means. So we are back on track. We're now set in the Aquarian Age, but we're not quite at the end of the Kalayuga, which is the meaning of, and Empress V, Queen V, Lady V, you know, you know her the longest as Lady V, right? That's a thing, right? All right. So then she's a Queen V, all right, and Empress. Like, I'm glad, I'm happy to give her the titles because she worked for it, all right? I don't, this is just me. I don't use mine because I have a self-confidence issue calling myself king. But I've earned it. I like being a technician. When I go home and I'm supposed to sit on a throne and be a king. Oh no, hell no! I'm not ruling anything. I'm a technician. I fix stuff. Maybe well, maybe not. I don't know. But I work on stuff. That's all I want to do. And explore. So that's why I don't call myself king. And this is me talking to myself about myself. Right? I just want to say that, right? So I earned the king, ship in 2019. The middle of the year, the crown. You get crowned, and your chakra, you know it. Your guides tell you like that's what happened. Like, oh, really? Yeah, yeah. So that position is open. It's once that's open, you've reached a kind of divinity state here, right? But there's still work to do, right? So that you didn't earn that accidentally. You earned it through work, right? A person, me, right? And that's what happens, and that's part of what we're talking about here, right? Is working toward the ending of the Kali Yuga. It's going to end when it ends, but at that point will be where the mass awakening really truly starts, and the people who are going through the clearing, their mass clearing now, are ahead of the curve. When it starts for everyone, then that's a whole different matter, and you want to be ahead of the curve of that. So the official splitting of the timelines, like, I don't talk much of timelines because I don't do, like I said, the Ascension thing. That's not my gig. I talk about it freely, but generally speaking, with the technical aspects of the Schumann resonances and all that, blah blah blah, Ascension is there's not an automatic connection, and that's what I explain to people in the nicest way that I can, because I want people to understand the technical aspects. So this here is, the one dedicated to the Ascension, rhetoric. What does that mean from the technician, the supreme arch technician, astral technician, etheric technician? That's the titles that I like, right? Oh, chief arch supreme technician. Like, yeah, oh, that's me, right? I'll stand up for that. I'll take that, that award. Yeah, I've earned that. Hell yeah. I will flash that title all the F over my stuff if I was going to, but I don't. I just like being, behind the scenes. That's my nature. Right? It's part of the theater, right? Just as part of the theater. That's I'm dressed as the theater hand, right? Essentially, I would wear this I have in the theater behind the scenes, right? All black. Um, no, it's not because I'm emo, you know, not because I have that's convenient for the type of work I do, that it's all, either black or navy, hides dirt really well. Like, okay, and blood in some cases. But uh, it's just part of the thing of being, out of the spotlight, and even here, it's like this, just talking head. Um, so, but it's not. It can't. You can't. You don't. You can't. No. You need you on. You get pushed out on the stage. Everyone on this planet. You can't hide from that. Yeah, you're a technician. You work behind the scenes. That's great. You can make a video with you talking about working behind the scenes. You can make yourself a little nondescript, talking head. That's fine. It's not a full video of your whole body. No, you can just be a talking head. That's fine, but you will do this job. You will, right? You're doing the job, and so that's my guides reminding me that it is just time for this to come out. This is why you're here. This is the fun stuff, right? This is the fun stuff. I don't get to be dragged down by the bullshit side of this is Ascension. I get to talk about the fun side of what really is happening and what I know, and bringing back from home what you should know. This is part of why I'm here. This is it. This is it. But I don't talk about timelines. It's one of the things that a phrase I don't use because you can't tell it on the Schumann resonances, and it's not relevant anywhere in there. However, as we move toward the deadlines, right, there is a timeline. Absolutely. And a timeline shift is not able to be seen on the spectrogram, uh, you know, but it is, uh, what did I say? Meaning, oh, okay. So the official split of the timelines, it means when the ship finally sets sail, so to speak. Uh, it depends on how you're looking at it. Either the ship is coming into port, into a new land, or we're getting ready to sail on a new ship. And I kind of think I kind of like that because of the implications of that. And then, oh, good God, I think the analogy works better, quite honestly. Uh, um, and so the official split of the timelines means when the ship finally sets sail, so to speak, or we finally start our voyage. We're ready. We're the bad elements have been weeded out through the tribulation, right? This time period that's happening now. There's a weeding. The threshing room floor is the example. The separating the wheat from the chaff. Like that's part of what is going on now. And so when things get thrashed out and the awakening happens for the crew that have worked for it, and they're in their places and everything is all set, right? The players, the second and the third wave players are now in their places. Things can begin, right? The crew members will have their manifestations, uh, and they'll be at their starting points as we move forward, right? And so I said this is the point of declaring our readiness for manifestation of our highest and best good, our most useful timeline of us individually giving our free will towards the collective betterment of the planetary sphere and the people, others on it through extension. Hopefully that's understandable. Uh, anyone that knows me, if you've, oh, good God, if you follow me enough, you've heard me talk. I'm not the Ascension guy. I don't talk about the Schumann resonances from Ascension terms There is not an automatic connection between the Schumann resonances and Ascension, if there is one. Huh? Hmm? You may not believe there is one, and that's fine. I use the phrase harvest. This is harvest time. Okay, I don't use the phrase ascension. However, you you may get harvest if you harvested. Yeah. Um, and it's not because there is not an inherent connection to that of what's happening now on the planet, what's actually happening. However, whatever it in fact is, the point that I make is that you cannot misread the data and reinterpret the science to misapply it to an agenda and take the information that's been given there and misread it, misinterpret it, and call it something that it's not, and look at the data screwy and not understand what the machines are telling you. The limitation of the machines, right? It's super extremely important to understand that part, the technicalities of it, technical aspects, the technicalities of it, of the machinery, right? Of the danger of reinterpreting it into such a way as it was not ever intended or was not measured. What it's not measuring. Okay, I think that's the best way to put it. Right? So mainly, what I speak out against is the institution of ascension or ascensionism, as I call it, for how it became a common sense now to misappropriate the science and the data. That's what's happening. There's a sense that's happened. People, oh, you just intuitively, know, and like if you're looking at the spectrogram, like somehow you could magically know it and intuit it without having any understanding of how they got the picture. Right? That's kind of what I'm saying there. That the science and the data has been misappropriated, it's been misread, and they've used it to continue a narrative that isn't of itself true, right? And it's part of one of the many layers of the disinformation that's been, sent out with the Schumann resonance, with the technology, right? It's just I've talked about Araman. I'm going to talk more about this, but that's part of the problem, part of what needs to be understood, part of why I'm doing this is putting into perspective the force of Araman that's come in to be incarnated, and it's happening in a number of ways with people across the board. And that's one of the things of why I'm doing this, what I'm talking about, and why this is so important. Of why it is that important to read the data, read the graph information from a very strict perspective based on the technical aspects of how they designed it and what it's meant to do, and not look at it from some superimposed overlay, a cognitive overlay, where you're superimposing a script, a narrative on the technology. That's why I speak out against it. That's why I'm, using the phrases Schumannism and Ascensionism. That it's important to know that this is part of an agenda. That's the best way to put it. It does no good to misappropriate, misidentify, mislabel the data to support a myth or an agenda when the myth was manufactured by more of the Piscean rhetoric. So they, how do I say this? Let me think about this. There are master builders, there are magicians working on the other side, working for the dark side, who have concocted a narrative, right? What I'm phrasing, the Disney version of the 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 transition that people are at this point. And there is a number of factors that are weighing against this happening with people on all fronts, right? The poisoned monkeys, the army of 1,000 poisoned monkeys, is just one of the ways. It's that is just the most in your face way. That is the tip of the iceberg of what they've been doing with people, in the labs, what they've been releasing from the labs. Okay, and I'm not going to get into more of that at this point, right? But that's part of, the agenda, the scientific, technological agenda of decimating humans before they get to that transition point of where you're supposed to be going, where the timelines are supposed to be heading. And this is kind of a race to the finish line. Like that's part of what this ascension timeline is it's a race to that timeline to see if, those in the Bible, as it says, those days could be shortened or else no flesh would survive. I'm gonna have to find that reference in the Bible somewhere, but that's essentially how I remember it. Thank the good Lord, the Creator, that the days of them in this monkey business, that it would be shortened, or else no flesh would be left alive and intact, not defiled by the acts of the, grand engineers of destruction. I don't know a better way to put it than that. They're there, they're obvious in a number of different ways. Plastics, your headaches could very well be caused by plastics, and there then have nothing to do with Schumann resonances. Right? As plastics get hot, styro material gets hot, it releases noxious, toxic fumes and off gases that poison those around it. Right? uh, Domestic electronics that are, unshielded, they don't have a heat shield around them. They're covered in plastic, and then they get really hot. Right? And then, the plastic starts melting. It's right by your face. You inhale it, you ingest it. More ways the technology is going to kill you, will kill you, is trying to kill you. Right? It's what we have all around us for convenience, and it's part of the plan, part of the agenda, part of the decimation of the human population plan, the agenda. Right? It's been called by many names. It has many different facets to it, but it is by its nature there to keep people, keep the humans, to keep you, the population of the free will zone of Earth School, to keep y'all from evolving, properly evolving as a collective do-good species. Right? It's part of what has to happen now is the parasites and the do-bad parts of society have to break down. Those parts of society that are there, were there, are there, have been there, designed to ensnare, enslave, and entrap y'all, right? They need to go. They need to be broken down by the people who are themselves getting broken down by them technologies, right? So now that we're officially in the Aquarian Age as of the stellum, okay, I'm agreeing. I've said it started, 1660, all right? So, but we have an expert authority here, Empress V, and there's no one else that's going to be able to prove otherwise, right? And I've said once again, the age of the Aquarian Age officially starts when the last player representing the Piscean Age accepts defeat and gets off the field. That's when the Piscean Age officially ends, okay? But until then, there is an overlap period, but like, okay, it's got to be recognized somewhere that it started, and it started, right? Absolutely, right? And the next big, huge alignment comes in 2024. Right? There's other things before that for people, but relative to, the last one, the last count that's coming in on the Piscean credit is Pluto coming in a return in, 4th of July, uh, 2024. Okay. All right. That's our Pluto return for the United States government, essentially. Right. And you see that it's coming to that point. It's coming, you see it's coming to an end. You don't need to, there may not be another president. So, not to get political about it, because I don't want to get dinged uh, on a copyright. But I mean, what the hell? I made this a non monetized channel. I don't care if it gets broadcast. There's 10 of you I do this for. Like Saturn videos, 26 people saw it. I don't care. I get credit for having done it. It doesn't matter. It's nice to talk to people. It's nice to chat, but I get credit just the same. It's all good. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Every one of you, you're wonderful. So this one I got to talk to people. This one I can't hide, behind crappy. Your language is crappy. Uh, I got to use the crappy language to talk to people, right? So that's why this is going to be a long video. I'm just rambling on because it's like, all right, I'm going to chat with people, when it's time. So part of the ascension, if there is such a thing, involves the shedding of old ways. And I'm talking autobiographically, just for the record. All right. That includes the old ways, your thoughts, your speech. Oh, I spelled speech with a EA like a peach. I like spelling it that way. I'm going to spell it that way instead of the two E's. Stupid. That was formulated in the Piscean epic. So there's a lot of stuff that was formulated from the mindset, the Piscean Age mindset. Right? So it is extremely important to understand that such things are going away of their own momentum. Right? The field can't support the Piscean Age stuff anymore. Right? I don't know how to better put it than that, but there's a lot of the mindset, the prejudices, the stupid rhetoric in some cases, right? There's a lot of bullshit rhetoric out there. Uh, like indignation is not a proper feeling or emotion, right? That's an abstraction that depends on a lot of rhetoric to hold it in place, right? We talk about rhetoric and the danger of rhetoric and abstractions that are maintained through rhetoric, which is the empty space of a head that can't be nailed down. I'll put it that way. Refuses to be nailed down. Right? Rhetoric is important in gaslighting others. Important to note that. Narcissists, sociopaths, and psychopaths use a lot of abstractions and these kind of things. Right? Okay. So it's important to keep this understanding that we're understanding this, that this is part of what's getting rooted out as we're moving through into the new age. Right? I'm only using this word ascension because it's kind of understood by people, but I'm wanting folks to kind of understand what this ascension thing really is. So again, because it's been pinned on Schumann resonances from the beginning that I've been involved in it, like it's important for me to discuss this. It of itself of what, ascension is from the, chief, technician, head chief technician here. Um, so, I've said before, oh, good God, I have done no time here previous to this incarnation. This is my first time. I'm a volunteer. I remember my life before this. I remember coming into this form, picking the courses that I would do. Like the spirit exists before it gets here. We're all volunteers. Earth is so difficult. We're all volunteers because there are only lessons you can learn down here on Earth. Right? It's just super important. Dignity. There are a number of things that are super important. You can only learn them through being a human. Right? Humility, uh, love, care. I mean, you could learn love being a dog. All right, like that's a thing. I loved Mr. Scrappy Doo, my friend and faithful companion. He was 16 and a half when he passed on. Right, I loved him. I still think of him. Right, he's with me every day. Right, so and he loved me. I know that, and he just was there waiting for me every day. He was there waiting right by the door. Right, that's animals show. They don't tell you. They just show that they love you. Right, humans have the ability to tell you they love you and show you, right? They may do one or the other, they may do neither, or they may do both, whatever. But, it's the point making that, humans have the ability to say it and show it, okay? Whereas the dogs and the animals, like cats, I don't know, don't bring cats into this, but, the dogs certainly, and other animals as well, right? They understand love and they give it back, right? Unconditionally, right? It's different than the humans. So, so there are things you only learn here in Earth School, right? The free will zone of Earth School, right? You have to learn how to tune in to a God, a higher power, right? And that can be difficult if it's on some higher, wavelength that you need to tune into, right? And to, feel the presence of the Almighty. It's difficult as a human because we're in an isolated form here, right? And I'm telling you, this is what I've learned from this lifetime here. So there is a thing of being here, of integrity. And it's another thing of it. A person of your word, keeping your word. You can only learn these things here on Earth School. Okay. And so I admit I'm still here because there are things I need to learn of basic skills with people. Like I admit that. Other folks need to learn the higher, more complicated stuff. The stuff that to me is real easy. That the higher order shit, I got that, all day long. I can do this all day long, right? But the common courtesy things, patience with others, uh, giving someone a kind word or encouragement when they leave a comment, being grateful, being thankful to the girl who makes my coffee, like all these kind of things are super important that you need to come here to Earth to learn, right? Um, to how to express that through words and through actions. In other places, right, you could just emote forth a feeling of gratitude, be a certain color, a special color and flash, and different. You would, it's different. um, you know, Making yourself a beautiful, pretty color that sparkly something that the person likes, and it's just, and it's different here on Earth. There's the way that you have to do things, and that's giving kindness to people through your words and your actions, right? It's just this is for me. I'm talking to myself, but it's part of what the growth here is that unless you kind of shed off the negativity, unless you shed off the negative accumulation of opinions of others, you shed off the negative things that people say that they don't really mean it. They're idiots. You got to forgive them of their humanness, like these kind of things, right? It's like these are all important lessons that a person has to go through in order to grow and get out of the swamp of the planet, to get out of the minefield of negative influences around us that we can step on and or step in or whatever. So I I just humbly offer you that that um that it's important to you know for a person's growth here, where we're at now, to shed as much of the, the darker elements that have come from the Piscean Age. I think that's just the best way to put it. Uh, I talk about my language, my native tongue. I share it with you here. I make myself vulnerable because it's time we can talk about that. Other people, in their videos have it. Things are changing. I really need to talk that because and feel like I can talk to some of you about that. Right? And so that's part of what doing this is about, is working through the the problem with the words, right? The language, the English. Like, yeah, I've been to school, I've been to college, right? But there's still a commonality of language that comes with having lived here, the planet, with you all for multiple incarnations. There's just an inherent biological need for the language and to talk and to speak and clear the air and to work through it and bargain and negotiate and tell people they're great or they're awful or whatever, just whatever the mental space is. It needs to be accompanied by talking, words, and the most common language we have is English. And oh, good golly, I speak clearly so that I don't trip over the words, the tangle of words and syllables, the phonetics necessary to carry a clear message to you all. I speak clearly, I enunciate. That's really super important so that I don't trip over the words themselves. And I have done that often enough, and it drives me crazy, quite honestly. Um, and so because there's a changing of the guards, I'm allowed to use my spiritual tongue, my other language, and I'm very grateful. And in time, hopefully, I won't have to use English at all. I will have awoken enough of you that I can just kind of use my native language and go through it, and we can all have a grand and wonderful time. But in the meantime, there's English, and it sucks. Right? It's not your fault. Nothing personal against you. It's just your crappy, shitty language. Sorry, bastard of a language. It's anyone that knows multiple languages that has English as a second, third, fourth language will tell you it's one of the most difficult. Chinese may be easier. Like, I don't know. You know, from starting out from scratch. Like, I don't know. May or may not be. You uh, anyway, so I can't talk. Back to the text. I cannot talk of ascension in any true sense until we understand the nature of the underpinnings of the Aquarian paradigm. Right. So that's part of what has to happen is before you can if this is something that you're loosely interested in, or what it is and yet it's not you, or whatever, any of this, if you're familiar enough with the term, this is something that should interest you when we start talking about the underpinnings of the Aquarian paradigm and what's changing and what that really means. And that's really only able to be the best done in my native tongue, as I say, where we can sit in the camp of the eternal forest with the angelic hosts and the upper astral guides that are here to assist at this time. Matsarya Mahashada Ata Ada Ue Umfa Ata Ada Aya. Shansharya Mahasa Ada Ue Umfa Bum 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 Dada Ata Acha Aya. So, I can't talk much in that because no one except a few people understand. However, as things get opened up, like, it's just, you understand it enough, right? It's just, we're moving away from the mess and the tangle of English and phonetics, okay? It's just, it's not you, right? People talk, I hear there's more of this going on than people are able to talk about, or they don't want to talk about it because it means they think they're going crazy. But a lot of people have said is it me or am I crazy, or did the words no longer start making sense? I looked at a word, and it's not that they didn't know the word, but it's just that they looked at the word and it just blanked on them what it was. Right? They recognized the word, but it just totally did not get what the word was. Just separated, the word was separated from what their experience was. Right? There it was, again, we talk about that rhetorical area of a word that is not worked through. Right? It doesn't have a practical sense to it. It's just in the dictionary. It's a dictionary word, basically, right? It's a definition in a book, right? That's rhetoric. It's a definition in a book that you bring it up, and you know, it's not coming from your own personal experience, right? So words are becoming a precious commodity. Meaningful words are a precious commodity. And it's funny in all this information age how precious good information really is, how valuable good, solid information is, who you can trust just based on their information. You know, just based on the talking head that's here, right? How much can you trust what I'm saying, right? This is what is being called into question and, you know, all over the place by people who are, you know, claiming to know something or posting videos or whatever. It's like, you know, what do you know? What can you show? So that's part of for me what's making this difficult is that, you know what, I recognize this as a thing, right? You know, like, and I don't want to argue with anyone. I don't want to discuss things with anyone. I just really want to tell you and you understand, right? You just, it be revealed to you. You just get it without me having to, you know, try to talk you into it or argue it or sales pitch or any of that. I just don't want to have to go through that with people. I want to just kind of reveal it in the best way you can, and take it or leave it. All right, just I'm not debating. I'm not arguing with people, and as part of what the trouble I've had is the need that people have of, you know, dissecting this or whatever, and you know, part of the journey is not to hold that against people, not to hold people's words against them, not to hold people's intentions or their thoughts against them, or, you know, against them or people in general. Right? So that's part of what the releasing mechanism is releasing a hold of the people with negative impressions of the topic or the subject, or, you know, Ascension or my work, or, you know, the of people in general or whatever. It's like not letting that stand in the way of, you know, sending a some a message of love to the people, right? Because it's time. It needs to be a positive message. And, you know, there's a lot of stuff that's happening now that needs to happen. It needs to clear out, you know, like things that are happening now in a lot of cases that seemingly by accident or whatever. It's like there's a, you know, there's force that's revealing stuff now in its right time, right? So that's part of what has to be understood. Part of what people need to understand is that a lot of what's coming now, though it seems horrible and awful, it's like it needs to come out. It, like lancing a boil, or, you know, the pus coming out of a wound or something. It's septic. It needs to come out. It needs to be cleared. And the only way it can be cleared is if it's brought out into the light. Very simply. Okay. Uh, I get back to what I said. No one is doing it for anyone. So there are no Palladian, there's no Grand Council, there's no, I mean, there may in fact be one. However, they're not saving anyone, right? No one's saving the humans. We incarnated into human form to help you grow. Right? It's a known quantity among all the volunteers and anything outside of Earth that this is a free will zone. It's only a volunteer, and no one's accidentally coming here. This is all by, you know, people's choice. Okay, and this, none of this is purposeless. It's all meaningful. It all means something because it's all an expression of consciousness or conscious will, conscious effort, all of that. Even if you choose to avoid something, you still have made a choice. right? And I've done that enough, and I say it'll take care of itself, and it does. And a lot of times it's not my benefit, and that's not a good thing that makes me happy, right? So that's why we use and express our will physically and do the things that are the better option. So you take charge, right? And express your free will freely that way, right? So that's part of what this experience is coming into the veil of learning from the ground up of how to make wise choices and better decisions. And the fact that the humans, a person, has to grow. You have to, grow of yourself and strengthen your will and your resolve and strengthen your consciousness ability and take power and take charge for yourself, for humans, for humanity, right? If you're of that sort, certainly take the responsibility for yourself, for yourself, right? That's important enough too. Um, and so there are no councils, there are no Pleiadians or any of that. The spaceships, if they are out there, and they are, but a lot of them are cloaked, but they're just watching, right? They're watching the show, right? Because this is a show. And none of them are stepping in to, take over for us and rescue us. The people that came in and did that were, saving humans, traded technology for the population, right? That's how we get a lot of this awful, horrible shit, is that humans were sacrificed and shipped off and used as resources for this in exchange for the technology that the military uses, right? And the companies and whatever, right? This is part of an agenda of the technology, right? And so part of what needs to happen is a breaking free from the technology. All right, I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, but it's humans needing to do for themselves, before anything else can happen. And like there are no star races that are coming in to step in to save humanity. And the ones that did have contact with humans, like I said, they were the ones that made a crappy deal for technology to trade human beings for like microwaves, radar. It's kind of plug-in technology, the computers and a lot of stuff, right? So it was time for that stuff to happen, and it happened. So all right, so let me get back on track. So you know what, this is a good place to pause. I'm 1 hour 20 minutes into it, so I'm gonna hit the pause button so I can have some coffee, and I'll meet you on the other side. Cheers. Okay, actually, this is probably a good place to stop for some music. And cigarette break, So why don't you chill, and I'll meet you on the other side of the music.
Data center.
between. Loving you sometimes just seem never gonna take your shine away. Nobody's ever gonna love this way. See the joy inside your eyes. Really start to live your life. If there's only one true love, make sure that I'm the one you're thinking of. You don't have to rush to take your time. You do your own thing and I'll do mine. Care to prove that I can play your game. Nobody's ever gonna love this way. Give it to me. Give it to me one more time. Let me know I'm on your mind.
Okay, it's time to bring it back home. Right. I have some food cooking in the back, so that's kind of what I'm doing here as well. Making something to eat. It's just that time. Adjust myself here. There we go. All right, nice. All right. So, again, I just kind of want to apologize to people who like talking. You want to talk to me, and I am not really enthusiastic about doing the chats and talking and being in the other people's chats, like the rest of our family, Mark Pyers and just all the family, right? I'm considered part of this family. The wages world, Mark Pyers, lifeboat family, I'm kind of the black sheep, like uh admittedly so. I know enough about the darker spiritual realms, like to, whatever. Uh Whatever. So I I just want to say that those of you who miss me, I think of you in prayers, and I ask my guides to watch over you, and just because I'm not there in the chats, it doesn't mean I don't think of you and offer prayers to you. It's just, it's not you personally. It's difficult to talk in English. Sadia Mahashada, Ufupa, and it's difficult for you to kind of listen to hear what I'm saying that way. And, it's just, this has been a very difficult experience here. And, so me doing this is an offering of love to you if I can, right? Just, you can accept it that way, that this is, like me showing you here, like this is stuff you need to know. Like this is what I'm working with, what my guides tell me for you guys. Okay? So, this is really important. Okay. So I just want to make sure to just say that, because I haven't, just in case you didn't know, you need to know, you should know that it's not personal. Just because I don't want to talk, it's not against anyone personally. It's just you shouldn't take it that way, and I hope you don't. Just understand it. Some people are just that it's just the language is difficult, right? And to connect that way with just the language is fucking difficult. So I'll just say that. I would rather use the heart center. Like that's why this is up here as the other way, the other network, the inner network. And it's important for people to understand that this is the technology that we're supposed to be opening up. And how? How do we do that, right? That's what this is all about. Of, how are we opening up the genetics to accept the new paradigm that's here? I'm told that a lot of these star races that are here to help, the Andromedans, the Pleiadians, or whom have you, of the Orions, your Sirians, they will meet you on the other side. No one's helping us here in this form. I hope that clarifies things. that they'll see you on the other side when you get over there, when we land in the new land. But until then, they're not. No one's helping, right? No one's jumping in, right? The only ones that are jumping in are the ones that are up to no good. But the ones that are kind of watching, they're watching, right? They're just watching. um, so where I was at, the will and my want can waver. My ability to make a decision can be affected, can waver, right? Ascension, if there is any such thing, right, comes first from doing hard work. Okay, that's part of what the awakening is. You got to get up first and doing those things that I might not want to do, but I have to do. But I know that if I ask for strength, my guides will help me in my journey, and there will be people who I meet along the way who will help me. Right? Um, I hate to say this, but I am from before this lifetime, from what you might call the future, your future, where things are you're heading. Okay, it's hard to explain to people, but the direction, where you're supposed to be heading, where you're going. Right? This is my first incarnation here. It's been rather difficult. Thank you for the suit. I volunteered to be here at this time, during this transition. I've posted on this subject. I've posted of my mission and what that is, and what my mission is, what the mission here to Earth School is at this time. And just because someone knows their purpose doesn't mean they really are like rah about being here, right? Like, I mean, I know my purpose. Doesn't mean I'm fucking over exuberant about being here. I'll do the mission because it's why I came here. But part of the mission is being cheerful and believing that this is the main part of the mission, is, like being happy that you're here, right? Hopefully that made sense. So it's important for people to understand, like, like what's happening, what we're going, right, and what we're going to be going through. And the only ones who really truly know are the people who are from the future, if you will, or maybe some other hyper dimension or something. I can't even really describe it to you adequately, but this is I volunteered to do this, to be here, to help people, to help manifest the chrysalis, if you will. Like that's where people are headed to, is that idea of a butterfly with beautiful, shiny, glimmery wings. And you have to picture that. You have to want to picture that, right? To me, it's more correct to say that Earth is a backwards swamp, yet with a quite unique experiment going on. Prime Source Creator created a space that physically excludes it by hiding. Right? God's hidden in the code of the genetics of the material matrix of the planetary sphere of Gaia. It's the best way to put it. Okay, I'm back. Onward and upward. 93% plus of the of us as humans exists collectively as. So we live in our body, and we think that the human experience is the body. You're living in the body, and as the avatar. And we don't think of it as a spirit inhabiting the body, which is fine. But my life force is this body, right? So that material matrix that makes up your body, that 93% of that is the DNA of the body itself. Of the body is of the planet. The planetary body is you, your clay. God, creator, source rests within the 93% of the material matrix, which goes virtually undetected and unnoticed and isolated from the human being, from the human thinking, from the human experience, living in the split brain of the human vessel, Right? It's one of the things that makes the human form so unique and so, I don't know how to say it, so difficult to negotiate and navigate, is the virtual imposition of the two hemispheres, one upon the other, right? Figuring out where one ends and where the other begins, and figuring it out. One side needs to know where it begins or where it ends. The other side doesn't care. The bicameral or two hemisphere nature of the human brain allows for a split world or a split universe to happen in everyone. There's so it's part of the human experience. It's kind of like the split brain, like I said. There's the phenomenological experience of being within the physical vessel of the Ademu, or the clay vehicle, as a spirit embedded within the material matrix, or your spirit animates. It is your spirit is of the infinite, and it animates the body here in this form. Okay, and that's through the application of your will, the power of the will, through you wanting to be here, right? All of you wanting to be here, you inhabit the body. You inhabit the physical form. Okay, the clay body of the Ademu. Some people call it the pain body, but like all of your bodies, your vessels can feel pain. I'll just say that. The will is what powers the 93% of the vessel that inhabits the planet. Okay, so your body, that is you, that is made up of the stuff of the planet, is powered by the will, the coding DNA. Right? Then there is the other half of the brain that rationalizes this experience. It is an abstracted, imaginary side that allows for the expression of true free will. There is the world within the person's head, which is an emotional overlay. Brain reasoning, rational thinking is yet one more sensory experience of the human experience. All thinking happens in an electrochemical sense in the brain. Right, maybe I'll fix that. So that's one of the things I've talked about, of the thinking, of common sense being a sense and how it is a sense. And the brain thinking is electrochemical at its nature, but the thoughts are still held intact through enzymes. And that's what memories are, is it's coded enzymes in the brain. Okay. And so all of our thinking gets moderated through those enzymes, and thinking is a sense of type. It's just another sense. The feeling center of the thinking brain allows one to connect into the collective experience of this 93% of the material matrix of the planetary sphere. It allows for the emotional, feeling, and sensory experience of the planet allows you to be emotionally in touch with the planet. And the best way to do that is through grounding and acknowledging that the planet has a consciousness and a greater consciousness, and you're here to help with that, if you will. All right. All thinking, reasoning, common sense is just one more feeling set to be mediated through the remaining mediation of the material world and actual stuff. So the way that we mediate this world, the way that we are players or actors, on the stage, is through manipulating the material stuff of this world, right? And all the thinking and common sense or reasoning and rationing is based on our real world mediated experience through us working with it. And there's a lighter level of that, of rhetoric, of reading a book about it and believing we know and acting like we know, what it's like to actually have the material thing in your hand. And we can substitute that on both sides of the brain, one for another. Right? If the will takes over enough, you can substitute book knowledge for actual learned experience. It happens often enough. Your material stuff, which makes the world around you, is a technology with an ego, and it has the ability to think now. right? The ego being the identification of what the object is. It was made into a chair. And if it's got someone's name attached to it or a name, it's ego, right? And the stuff has brains, it thinks now, and a lot of it is getting back at humans for what they've done. We have made it so our stuff thinks for us, yet the attachment to the physical, the reliance on technology to have the experience for the human, is something that needs to be considered long and deep, long and hard. And I will say, my guides offer this to you at this time. The material matrix of the planet, your DNA, is the technology that you've been waiting for, and it's the technology that is supposed to be there in place of, you know, the radio and the videos and all of this plug-in technology and the AI hive mind and all the network and all of that. Instead of the internet, we should use the internet, and that's connecting through the heart center, the heart chakra portal, right? All right, so this, I'm going to stop this right here where we are. I'm going to do the same thing I did with the other one. I'm going to kind of end it here, post this as a part 2, and then I will kind of move forward into the part 3, because there's a lot more reading. There's going to be at least another hours left of, there's another hours left of reading, and I want to keep this relatively short so that, people can kind of be present for this. All right, so I'm going to play about, I'm going to play about 5 minutes worth of music and outro this, and so I'll see you on the other side.
I would never